A historic and unusual grave in Johnson County yielded a surprise for anthropologists excavating the site. As Harrison Wagner reports, crews are making improvements to the 186-year-old resting place.
Now it's a hole, but until recently it was the final resting place of Nancy Curlin Barnett. Johnson County wanted to expand 400 South and enlisted the help of University of Indianapolis anthropology professor Dr. Christopher Schmidt. Barnett was buried in that spot in 1831, which was originally a family grave plot. When the county wanted to build a road through the plot, Barnett's grandson stood watch over her grave with a shotgun, making sure nobody disturbed her. They ended up building the road around her grave. The grave was in need of work, human remains were starting to expose themselves, and the grave's location was becoming unsafe for motorists. So, about 4.5 weeks ago, Dr. Schmidt and his team started digging. In addition to Barnett's remains, 6 other individuals were discovered. According to Dr. Schmidt, it isn't surprising that there were multiple graves there.
The surprise was that at least 3 of the interments had been disturbed previously by some sort of activity, be it a vehicle striking that high spot. It looks like somebody dug into the graves at some point. So those sorts of disturbances were more surprising than finding additional graves next to the known.
Dr. Schmidt says this grave is an important piece of Indiana history, especially as Indiana enters its bicentennial. Barnett was one of the earliest Hoosiers living through Indiana's entrance into its statehood. Dr. Schmidt says this could provide important insight into the lives of those early Hoosiers.
Seeing her remains and seeing the remains of people we think might be her family, that's very interesting to help us to ground truth some of the stories and some of the tales we've heard over the years about these folks who lived so long ago.
The grave contained the remains of 3 adults and 4 children. The road is being widened and the plot will remain where it was, as a historical marker and a monument to those early Hoosiers. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Harrison Wagner.
Researchers at the University of Indianapolis are studying the remains to determine the age, sex, ancestry, and cause of death, and will later return them to the plot.